hello there. Welcome back to Adventure in Art. My name is Ben Staley. This is chapter 8 of our Faces on Film series. Buckle up. I like to eat. My favorite meal is breakfast. Now, one of the hardest parts about the location work that I do, filmmaking, is I'm usually in a remote place and it's tough to get a good breakfast. Sometimes I don't even get breakfast. So when I'm home, when I'm not in the field, I make sure I have breakfast every day. I love me some breakfast. And to top it off, about, I would say 75 to 90% of the time I have the same darn breakfast every day because I like it. Now occasionally we'll go out to eat like we did yesterday, or we'll run out of an ingredient or something, so we gotta improvise or change it up, or just sometimes we just change it up. But I like my breakfast, and so I'm happy to have the same thing every day. Either I'll make it or my wife will make it. Sometimes there's tiny variations, but it's all typically the same thing. I'll take a couple large jalapenos, dice them up. A couple nice big green onions, dice them up. Throw them in a pan, saute them up with some coconut oil. Throw in some scrambled eggs, mix it up, bada bing, bada boom. Sometimes have some turkey bacon on the side. Sometimes have some breakfast potatoes on the side, diced up, cooked in the air fryer, super delicious. Sometimes have maybe a slice of toast or something like that. But those things change here and there. But jalapenos, onions, eggs, turkey bacon, I'm having that 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. Am I boring? You might think so. I don't really care. Maybe I am. I like it. It's good. I like the consistency. It's delicious. I was thinking of, filming a little montage of me making breakfast, but no, it's not that kind of channel. We're just doing photography and adventures and filmmaking and other stuff. Let's get into it. In this chapter, we're photographing Ashley. Who is Ashley? Ashley is a model based in Los Angeles. I think she also works at an Apple store, which is kind of cool. But the cool thing about Ashley, aside from I'm sure there's a lot of cool things about her, but the notable thing about Ashley is that she's from Anchorage, Alaska, which is where I was born. So I'm from there too, sort of. I don't know if I'm from Anchorage, but I was born in that city, and I did grow up in Alaska. Ashley's also from Alaska. That's pretty cool. There's not a lot of us Alaskans here in Los Angeles or Southern California in general. It's just not the place that a lot of us come. There's a few of us out there, and I'm happy we connected. I'm happy we did this shoot. Come along for the ride. I want to talk about consistency. I want to talk about the benefits of using the same camera over and over, the same lens, the same film stock, the same location. Is that boring? Is that like having a lack of imagination? I don't think so. I think there's benefits to it. I think you can learn and grow within those constraints in remarkable ways. I think you can get to know yourself as an artist, get to know yourself as a photographer in deeper ways. I have shot in this location hundreds of times. I have shot hundreds of people in this location. I call it my studio. I use it so often. I know this place intimately. I know how the light falls on one side. I know how the light falls on the other side. I know the best times of day to be here. I know the times of day when I don't want to be here. I know how early, how late I can be here. I know it all because I've done it all. Does that take the joy of discovery out of it or the challenge? No, it never is not challenging. It's amazing to be able to shoot in the same spot over and over dozens, if not hundreds of times. You learn about yourself. You learn about light in a deeper way. It's interesting to see different people and how they react to the space, how they respond, how they will show you things about the space that maybe you didn't know. And that happens a lot. As many times as I've shot here, I'm still learning. I'm still discovering things. I'm still seeing people bounce off these walls in different ways and inspire me. And it's a wonderful gift. As much as for me, the joy of photography is in the discovery, I've photographed here so much and I'm still discovering things about the place, about myself. That's the real joy of the work. That's the real joy of the pursuit. So I'm using the Leica M6 with my 50mm Summicron, my favorite camera of all time. Now I've had this guy for 7 years now, and I put hundreds of rolls through it. It's my favorite camera of all time, mostly for sentimental reasons, but I love using it because it's so simple. There's a real benefit to using the same camera over and over and not getting sucked into gear acquisition syndrome and looking at the shiny newest camera and the next best thing, or maybe if I just had an RZ, or maybe if I had a Hasselblad, or maybe if I had a Mamiya 7, or maybe if I had this or that, I could take better pictures. Maybe I could. But you know what? There's a real benefit to using the same camera over and over and over. It becomes second nature. You instinctively know where all the dials are, where all the controls are. It feels right in your hand. It sort of vanishes. And this camera in particular, it's remarkably simple. There's no extra bullshit on this camera, right? Really, there's just, you set the ISO, you set the shutter, you're gonna have an iris on the lens, the rest is up to you. Get it in focus, right? And I love that. I love the simple elegance of this machine. And I'm not saying you need to have a camera this simple, but there's a real benefit to using the same camera over and over and over and over. You learn it really well. You learn about yourself in a deeper way. I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm trying to make that point. So let's talk about the lens. This 50mm is, whoa, that light is really creeping in. Holy cow, should I adjust? Should I adjust? Should I adjust? Should I adjust? Whoa, it's bright. I better hurry. That sun is getting lower and it's gonna blast me right in the face pretty soon coming through the window. Okay, the 50mm Summicron, I love this lens. It is sharp as F. Even on 35mm, it is amazing and sharp. And probably most of my favorite pictures of all time I've taken with this lens. It is amazing. Now, 50mm is as long as I want to shoot with a rangefinder. Why? Because of the parallax. I'll get into that. At f2, I have this lens. I shoot it wide open. I want that shallow depth of field. I want, when I'm shooting portraits, I want the background to fade away so I can isolate the subject, so I can really draw your eye into them. 50mm at f2, you've got, and if you're shooting fairly close to the person like I like to, you have a pretty narrow depth of field. Very, 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 very small amount of your subject is actually going to be in focus. So you have to nail it. And with the rangefinder, you're not looking through the lens. You're looking through the rangefinder with the M6, and it is dicey. I miss less than I used to, and I actually had my camera calibrated, and I miss less since I did that. So it's pretty great. But you've got to focus. You've got to be careful. You've got to pay attention. You've got to take your time. And when you nail it and you look at the shots later, it's just freaking magical. I like a closer portrait. That way I can throw the background more out of focus. I like a deep background. I like to be fairly close to the subject with this lens. I want that shallow depth of field, and this lens is magical. I freaking love it. Parallax with the rangefinder, if you think about that, you are not looking through the lens. You're looking through the viewfinder over here, and the lens is over here. So you're slightly offset. So if you're pretty close and you're looking through, you frame it up, well, the lens is seeing something different. That was a little tricky for me to get used to at first. Now, through the benefit of using this lens so much, I kind of, most of the time, can find that sweet spot where I kind of know what I'm going to get. I can adjust. I don't get as close as I used to because it's really, really hard to nail focus when you're super close. So I'll get those kind of head and shoulders, maybe a little wider shots, and they tends to be truer to what you see through the viewfinder, and it's easier to get focus. Have I covered that enough? I hope so. Oh, look at that light. Whoa, it's nuclear. Film stock, I'm not gonna say much. If you watch the channel, I'll just say it. I love TMax. It's my favorite black and white film, the 100 specifically. So if it's bright enough, super sharp, even at 35, very detailed, very fine grain. But beyond that, I just love the contrast. I love the way it renders an image. So if I nail the exposure, I have to do very little adjustment to the image later, and I don't want to do a lot of editing of my photos. So on a roll of 35 millimeter film, I'll get 36, 37, 38 exposures sometimes, and I don't have hundreds of pictures I have to edit. I've only got a couple dozen, and I can edit a roll in 10 to 15 minutes. I'll go through, sometimes I don't touch them at all. Sometimes I'll adjust a little bit of contrast. I'll bring the blacks down, I'll bring the highlights down, I'll tweak the contrast, but generally out of the box, I love the way TMax looks. What do you guys think of Ashley in my studio? What do you think of these shots? Leave me a comment and let me know. I appreciate you tuning in. We've only got one more chapter in the Faces on Film, and it's a little different than the others, and I really like it. It's coming up soon. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate every one of you. Take it easy out there. Go make some art.